Sophia Lane stepped into the grand ballroom, her heels clicking softly against the polished marble floor. The room was a dazzling display of wealth and power. Chandeliers sparkled overhead, and the air was filled with a hum of polite laughter and the clinking of champagne glasses. Sophia felt out of place, but she kept her head high. She wasn't here to blend in. She was here because of her work. At just 27, Sophia was already making a name for herself as a talented architect. Her latest project, an affordable housing initiative, had caught the attention of Harrington Enterprises, one of the largest real estate firms in the country. Tonight's charity gala was hosted by the company to celebrate the project's launch, and as the lead architect, Sophia had been invited. But she knew the truth. She was just a name on the guest list, a small piece in a much larger puzzle. Sophia wasn't one for fancy parties. Her simple black dress and neatly tied back hair were a stark contrast to the glittering gowns and diamond jewelry around her. But she didn't care. She wasn't here to impress anyone. She was here to represent the people who would benefit from the homes she had designed, families who needed a fresh start, just like she once had. Across the room, Liam Harrington stood surrounded by a group of investors. At 32, he was already a powerhouse in the business world. With his perfectly tailored suit, sharp jawline, and piercing blue eyes, Liam commanded attention wherever he went. He was the kind of man who could silence a room with just a glance. Liam had attended countless events like this. To him, they were nothing more than a necessary part of the job, a way to maintain his image and keep investors happy. But tonight, something, or rather, someone caught his eye. He noticed Sophia almost immediately. She wasn't like the others in the room. There was a quiet confidence about her, a sense of purpose that set her apart. She wasn't trying to impress anyone, and that intrigued him. Curious, Liam made his way across the room. "You must be the architect behind the affordable housing project," he said, his voice smooth but distant. Sophia turned to face him, her hazel eyes meeting his. "And you must be the man funding it," she replied, her tone polite but firm. Their conversation started off cordial, but it didn't take long for sparks to fly. Sophia wasn't afraid to speak her mind, and Liam wasn't used to being challenged. "You talk about this project like it's charity," Sophia said, her voice steady. "But for the people who will live there, it's so much more than that. It's their future." Liam raised an eyebrow, surprised by her boldness. "And you think I don't understand that?" "I think you understand numbers," she shot back. "But people? I'm not so sure." For a moment, Liam was taken aback. He wasn't used to being spoken to like this, especially not by someone like her. But instead of feeling insulted, he felt something else: curiosity. As the night went on, their conversation left an impression on both of them. Sophia walked away feeling frustrated but oddly intrigued, while Liam found himself thinking about her long after she had left the room. Neither of them knew it yet, but this was the beginning of something that would change both of their lives forever. The Monday after the gala, Sophia found herself standing in the sleek, glass-walled conference room of Harrington Enterprises. She had been summoned to a meeting with Liam Harrington himself, and though she tried to appear calm, her nerves were on edge. She wasn't sure what to expect, but she had a feeling it wasn't going to be a friendly chat. Liam entered the room with his usual air of authority, his sharp blue eyes locking onto hers as he took a seat at the head of the table. "Miss Lane," he began, his tone professional but firm, "I've been reviewing the plans for the housing project, and I think we need to make some adjustments." Sophia raised an eyebrow, already bristling at his words. "Adjustments? The plans were approved weeks ago. What kind of changes are you suggesting?" Liam leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "The budget is tight, and I think we can cut costs by scaling back some of the design elements. The community center, for example. It's not essential." Sophia's jaw tightened. "Not essential? The community center is the heart of the project. It's where families will gather, where kids will have a safe place to play. Cutting it would defeat the entire purpose of the design." Liam's gaze didn't waver. "I understand your passion, Miss Lane." But this is a business. We have to be realistic. Sophia took a deep breath, trying to keep her frustration in check. With all due respect, Mr. Harrington, this isn't just a business. It's about people, real people who need more than just a roof over their heads. If you want to cut corners, you'll have to find another architect. For a moment, the room was silent. Liam studied her, his expression softening just slightly. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone like Sophia. Most people either feared him or tried to impress him, but she was different. She didn't care about his wealth or his power. She cared about her work, and that intrigued him. "Fine," Liam said finally, a small smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. "We'll keep the community center, but I expect you to stay on top of the budget. No surprises." Sophia nodded, her resolve unwavering. "I always do." As the weeks went by, Sophia and Liam found themselves working closely together on the project. Their interactions were often tense, filled with heated debates and clashing opinions. But beneath the surface, there was an undeniable chemistry between them, one that neither of them wanted to acknowledge. Sophia admired Liam's intelligence and drive, even if his methods often frustrated her, and Liam couldn't help but be drawn to Sophia's passion and determination, even when she challenged him at every turn. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings, Liam found himself lingering in the office long after everyone else had gone home. He glanced out the window and saw Sophia sitting on a bench in the courtyard below, her sketchbook in hand. Without thinking, he grabbed his coat and headed outside. "You're still here," he said as he approached her. Sophia looked up, surprised to see him. "I could say the same about you." Liam sat down beside her, the tension between them palpable. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Liam broke the silence. "You're not like anyone I've ever worked with," he admitted, his voice softer than usual. Sophia glanced at him, her expression guarded. "Is that a compliment or a complaint?" "Both," Liam said with a faint smile. Sophia couldn't help but laugh, the sound breaking through the tension. For the first time, she saw a glimpse of the man behind the cold, calculated exterior, a man who, perhaps, wasn't as unfeeling as he seemed. But just as quickly as the moment came, it passed. Liam stood up, his professional demeanor snapping back into place. "Don't stay too late," he said, before walking away, leaving Sophia to wonder if she had imagined the vulnerability she had seen in his eyes. It was late on a Friday night when Sophia found herself back at the office, poring over blueprints for the housing project. The building was quiet, the usual hum of activity replaced by the faint buzz of fluorescent lights. She had lost track of time, as she often did when she was deep in her work. Across the city, Liam sat alone in a dimly lit bar, nursing a glass of whiskey. The week had been grueling, filled with endless meetings and mounting pressure from investors. But it wasn't just work that weighed on him tonight. His mind kept drifting back to Sophia. Her fiery determination, her unwavering belief in what she was doing. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, and it unsettled him in ways he couldn't explain. Before he knew it, Liam was standing outside the office building, the cool night air biting at his skin. He wasn't sure why he had come here, but something had drawn him back. As he stepped inside, he saw the faint glow of a desk lamp in the distance. Sophia looked up as Liam entered the room, his tie loosened and his usually composed expression slightly disheveled. "What are you doing here?" she asked, surprised to see him. "I could ask you the same thing," he replied, his voice softer than usual. Sophia gestured to the blueprints spread out before her. "Just trying to make sure everything is perfect. What about you? Don't tell me you came back to check on me." Liam hesitated for a moment before sitting down across from her. "Maybe I did," he admitted, his gaze meeting hers. Sophia blinked, caught off guard by his honesty. "Why?" Liam leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. "Because you're the only person who's ever made me question the way I do things. You don't just challenge me, you make me want to be better. And I don't know what to do with that." Sophia's heart skipped a beat at his words, but she quickly pushed the feeling aside. Liam, I'm just doing my job, that's all this is. Is it? He asked, his voice low. The room fell silent, the tension between them thick and undeniable. For the first time, Sophia saw the cracks in Liam's carefully constructed armor. He wasn't just the cold, calculating CEO she had thought he was. He was a man who had been hurt, who had built walls around himself to keep the world out. I don't let people in, Sophia, Liam said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. Not after what happened with Victoria. Sophia frowned. Victoria? Liam nodded, his jaw tightening. She was my fiancée. I thought she loved me, but it turns out she loved my money more. She betrayed me, and I swore I'd never let anyone get that close to me again. Sophia's chest tightened at the vulnerability in his voice. She had always seen Liam as untouchable, but now she realized he was just as human as she was. I get it, she said softly. I grew up watching my parents tear each other apart. It made me afraid to trust anyone, too. But you can't let the past control you forever, Liam. At some point, you have to let it go. Liam looked at her, his eyes searching hers for something he couldn't quite name. How do you do it? He asked. How do you keep believing in people, even after everything you've been through? Sophia smiled faintly. Because if I don't, then what's the point? People can surprise you, Liam. Sometimes they're worth the risk. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Before either of them could think twice, Liam reached across the table, his hand brushing against hers. The touch sent a jolt through Sophia, and she looked up to find him watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. Liam, she began, but her voice trailed off as he leaned closer. I don't know what this is, he said quietly, but I can't ignore it anymore. Neither could she. In that moment, all the walls they had built around themselves came crashing down. The kiss was tentative at first, a hesitant exploration of something neither of them fully understood, but it quickly deepened, fueled by weeks of unspoken tension and the vulnerability they had just shared. That night, they crossed a line they could never uncross. It wasn't just about physical attraction, it was about two broken people finding solace in each other, even if only for a moment. But as the first rays of sunlight crept through the office windows the next morning, Sophia woke with a sinking feeling in her chest. She had let her guard down, and now she wasn't sure if she could face the consequences. Liam, too, was conflicted. He had spent years keeping his emotions in check, and now for the first time, he felt like he was losing control. Neither of them knew what would come next, but one thing was certain, nothing would ever be the same again. The morning after their night together, Sophia sat at her desk, staring blankly at her computer screen. Her mind was a whirlwind of emotions, regret, confusion, and a lingering warmth she couldn't quite shake. She had crossed a line she swore she never would, and now she wasn't sure how to move forward. Her phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Liam. We need to talk. My office. Now. Sophia's stomach twisted. She knew this conversation was inevitable, but that didn't make it any easier. Taking a deep breath, she stood and made her way to his office. When she entered, Liam was standing by the window, his back to her. The morning sunlight streamed in, casting a golden glow over the room. He turned when he heard the door close, his expression unreadable. Sophia, he began, his voice steady but softer than usual. About last night. She cut him off, her tone defensive. It was a mistake. We were both tired and emotions got the better of us. It won't happen again. Liam's jaw tightened, and for a moment he said nothing. Then he stepped closer, his piercing blue eyes locking onto hers. Is that really how you feel? That it was just a mistake? Sophia hesitated, her heart pounding. She wanted to say yes, to brush it off as a lapse in judgment. But the truth was, she didn't know how she felt. It doesn't matter how I feel, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. We work together, Liam. This can't happen again. Liam's expression hardened, but there was a flicker of something else in his eyes. Hurt, maybe, or disappointment. "Fine," he said, his tone clipped. "If that's what you want." Sophia nodded, though the words felt hollow. "It's for the best." But as she turned to leave, Liam's voice stopped her. "Sophia, for what it's worth, last night meant something to me." She froze, his words hanging in the air like a weight on her chest. Without turning around, she replied, "It can't mean anything, Liam. Not here, not like this." And with that, she walked out, leaving Liam alone in his office, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. The tension between them only grew in the days that followed. They avoided being alone together, but their interactions during meetings were charged with an unspoken energy that everyone in the room could feel. Sophia threw herself into her work, hoping to distract herself from the turmoil inside her, but it was impossible to ignore Liam's presence. Every time their eyes met, she felt a spark of the connection they had shared that night, and it terrified her. Liam, on the other hand, was struggling to keep his emotions in check. He had spent years building walls around himself, but Sophia had broken through them in a way no one else ever had. He wanted to respect her wishes, but the more he tried to stay away, the more he found himself drawn to her. The situation came to a head during a late-night meeting about the housing project. The team had been working for hours, and tensions were running high, when one of the investors suggested cutting costs by reducing the size of the community center. Sophia snapped. "That's not happening," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the room. The investor frowned. "With all due respect, Ms. Lane, this is a business decision. We need to think about the bottom line." Sophia opened her mouth to argue, but Liam spoke first. "The community center stays," he said, his tone leaving no room for debate. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to Liam. He rarely overruled his investors, and his decision took everyone by surprise, especially Sophia. After the meeting, Sophia caught up with Liam in the hallway. "Why did you do that?" she demanded. Liam turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "Because you were right. It's not just about the bottom line. It's about the people who are going to live there." Sophia stared at him, her frustration melting into something softer. "Thank you," she said quietly. Liam nodded, his gaze lingering on her for a moment longer than necessary. "You don't have to thank me, Sophia. I'm just trying to do the right thing." For the first time in days, the tension between them seemed to ease, but as they stood there, the unspoken feelings between them hung heavy in the air, a reminder that their story was far from over. The tension between Sophia and Liam had reached its breaking point. Weeks of avoiding their feelings, of pretending nothing had happened, had only made things worse. And now, with the housing project nearing its final stages, the pressure from investors and the media was mounting. But the real storm came in the form of Victoria, Liam's ex-fiancée. Sophia first heard about her through whispers in the office. Victoria had been spotted visiting Liam's office, and rumors quickly spread that she was trying to rekindle their relationship. Sophia tried to ignore it, telling herself it wasn't her business. But when she saw Victoria in person, tall, elegant, and exuding confidence, she couldn't help but feel a pang of insecurity. It didn't take long for Victoria to make her move. One afternoon, as Sophia was leaving the office, she found Victoria waiting for her in the lobby. "You must be Sophia," Victoria said, her voice smooth and dripping with condescension. Sophia straightened her shoulders, refusing to be intimidated. "And you must be Victoria." Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I've heard a lot about you. You've been spending quite a bit of time with Liam, haven't you?" Sophia's heart raced, but she kept her expression neutral. "We work together, that's all." Victoria stepped closer, her tone turning icy. "Let me give you some advice, Sophia. Liam doesn't do relationships. He might act like he cares, but in the end he'll always choose his career over anything or anyone else. Trust me, I know." Sophia clenched her fists, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "If you're so sure about that, why are you here? Trying to win him back?" Victoria's smile faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. "I'm just looking out for him, and for you." Don't get your hopes up, Sophia. You'll only end up hurt. With that, Victoria turned and walked away, leaving Sophia standing there, her mind racing. That evening, Sophia sat alone in her apartment, replaying Victoria's words over and over in her head. She hated how much they affected her, but deep down, she couldn't shake the fear that Victoria might be right. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. When she opened it, she found Liam standing there, his expression tense. "We need to talk," he said, stepping inside before she could protest. Sophia crossed her arms, her voice sharp. "If this is about Victoria, I don't want to hear it." Liam frowned. "What about Victoria?" "She came to see me," Sophia said, her tone laced with frustration. "She told me I'm wasting my time with you, that you'll never care about anyone but yourself." Liam's jaw tightened, and for a moment he said nothing. Then he stepped closer, his voice low and firm. "Victoria doesn't know me anymore, Sophia, and she sure as hell doesn't know how I feel about you." Sophia's breath caught in her throat. "Liam, this isn't just about how you feel. This is about us. About whether this, whatever this is, can even work." Liam ran a hand through his hair, his frustration evident. "I know I've made mistakes, Sophia. I know I've been cold, distant, and focused on my career for too long, but you've changed me. You've made me see things differently, and I don't want to lose you." Sophia's eyes filled with tears, but she quickly blinked them away. "Liam, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can handle the pressure, the rumors, the constant feeling that I'm not enough." Liam reached for her hands, his touch gentle but firm. "You are enough, Sophia. You're more than enough, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove that to you." For a moment they stood there in silence, the weight of their emotions hanging heavy in the air. Then Sophia pulled her hands away, her voice trembling. "I need time, Liam. I need to figure out what I want, what I can handle. I can't make this decision right now." Liam nodded, though the pain in his eyes was clear. "Take all the time you need, but just know I'm not giving up on us." The next day, Sophia submitted her resignation. She couldn't stay at Harrington Enterprises, not with everything that had happened. She needed space, a chance to start over. When Liam found out, he was furious. He stormed into her office, slamming the door behind him. "You're just going to leave? After everything we've been through?" Sophia stood her ground, her voice steady. "I have to, Liam. I can't keep working here, not like this. It's not fair to either of us." Liam's shoulders slumped, the fight draining out of him. "So that's it? You're just walking away?" Sophia's heart ached at the pain in his voice, but she forced herself to stay strong. "I'm not walking away from you, Liam. I'm walking away from this situation. I need to find myself again before I can figure out what we are." Liam nodded slowly, his gaze dropping to the floor. "I understand, but for the record, I think you're making a mistake." Sophia smiled faintly, tears brimming in her eyes. "Maybe I am, but it's my mistake to make." As she walked out of the office for the last time, Sophia felt a mix of relief and heartbreak. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew she had made the right decision for now. Weeks passed after Sophia left Harrington Enterprises. She had thrown herself into a new project with a smaller firm, one that aligned more closely with her values. The work was fulfilling, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't shake the lingering thoughts of Liam. She missed him, his sharp wit, his unwavering confidence, and the rare moments when he let his guard down and showed her the man beneath the polished exterior. Liam, on the other hand, was struggling. Without Sophia, the office felt empty, and the housing project, once a source of pride, now felt hollow. He had tried to move on, burying himself in work, but nothing could fill the void she had left behind. One rainy evening, as Sophia was leaving her new office, she noticed a familiar figure standing by her car. Her heart skipped a beat when she realized it was Liam, drenched from the rain but seemingly unfazed. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice a mix of surprise and concern. Liam stepped closer, his blue eyes locked on hers. I couldn't stay away, Sophia. I've tried, but I can't. I need you to hear me out. Sophia hesitated, her emotions warring within her. Liam, we've been through this. I needed space, and you needed to focus on your life without me complicating it. Liam shook his head, rain dripping from his hair. You don't complicate my life, Sophia. You make it better. You make me better. And I'm done pretending I can live without you. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to believe him, but the doubts still lingered. Liam, this isn't just about what you want. It's about what we both need. And I don't know if we can make this work. Liam reached for her hands, his touch warm despite the cold rain. I know I've made mistakes, and I know I've hurt you, but I'm not the same man I was when we first met. You've changed me, Sophia. You've made me see that there's more to life than work and success, and I'm willing to fight for us, no matter what it takes. Sophia stared at him, her heart pounding. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the vulnerability he rarely showed. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could have a future together. But before she could respond, a voice interrupted them. Well, isn't this touching? Sophia and Liam turned to see Victoria, standing under an umbrella with a smug smile on her face. Victoria, Liam said, his tone sharp. What are you doing here? Victoria's smile widened. Oh, I just thought I'd drop by and see how my favorite ex-fiancé is doing. And it looks like I arrived just in time. Sophia felt a surge of anger. What do you want, Victoria? Victoria's gaze shifted to Sophia, her expression turning cold. I want what's mine. And Liam, whether you like it or not, you belong with me, not her. Liam stepped in front of Sophia, his voice firm. I don't belong to anyone, Victoria, and I've made it clear that I'm done with you. Victoria's smile faltered, but she quickly recovered. We'll see about that, she said, her tone dripping with malice. You may think you've moved on, Liam, but I know you better than anyone, and I'm not going to let some nobody like her take what's mine. With that, Victoria turned and walked away, leaving Sophia and Liam standing in the rain, the tension between them heavier than ever. Sophia looked up at Liam, her voice trembling. Is she always like this? Liam sighed, running a hand through his wet hair. Unfortunately, yes. But don't let her get to you, Sophia. She's just trying to stir up trouble. Sophia nodded, though the encounter had left her shaken. Liam, I don't want to be caught in the middle of whatever this is. I can't do this if she's going to keep interfering. Liam cupped her face in his hands, his gaze steady. She won't. I'll make sure of it. I'm not going to let her ruin this, ruin us. For a moment, Sophia hesitated, but as she looked into Liam's eyes, she saw the determination there, the promise that he was willing to fight for her, for them. Okay, she said softly, but this is your last chance, Liam. I need to know that you're all in. I am, he said without hesitation. I'm all in, Sophia, always. As the rain poured down around them, Liam pulled her into his arms, their lips meeting in a kiss that was both desperate and full of hope. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was a start, a chance to rebuild what they had and face whatever challenges lay ahead. But as they walked away together, neither of them noticed Victoria watching from the shadows, her expression dark and calculating. Thank you so much for watching this story on Emma's Stories. If you enjoyed it and want to see more dramatic, emotional, and inspiring tales, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to bring you more amazing content. See you in the next story.